some mistakes I made after I left foster care when I first became a care leaver. And by mistakes I made, I mean social services. I just think the borough that looked after me were not good. I think there are brilliant social workers out there. There are certain boroughs that are amazing with their social workers. I just don't think I had that luck. There were a lot of things that I as a care leaver was entitled to that I didn't know about, therefore missed out on. There was a lot of wrong information I was told, or information that I should have been told that I wasn't. Hopefully the things I'm about to say you already know, but this is for the ones if you don't, I want you to know this. The year after I left care was the worst year of my life. If you've seen my stories, you know things weren't always right, but it was the worst year of my life. So in no order, here's the mistakes. So when you leave care, you're entitled to a leaving care grant. When I left care, the grant was £2,000. Some local authorities have started to raise that to £3,000, but I think most are still £2,000. So find out exactly how much you're entitled to. Here's what my social worker said that was completely false. I don't know where she got it from to this day. I did make a complaint about it when I sued social services, but it couldn't be proved or disproved that this actually happened. But this did happen. The social worker told me that this £2,000 that I was to be given to be spent on furniture had to be used in a special shop, as in one that the social workers had picked out and would use regularly. So when I was looking at white goods, fridge, freezer, washing machine, oven, all of that, I found some really cheap ones in Argos and they were all on offer. And the social worker told me I wasn't allowed to spend the money there because it wasn't on their list of special shops. Instead, she dragged me to Mitcham. I didn't even live in Mitcham. I didn't even live next door to Mitcham. So the white goods I bought, I can't remember exactly how much it all was because, we're going back 10 years. It worked out about £300 more expensive than what it would have been if I'd bought it in Argos. Don't ever let a social worker or your PA tell you it has to be in a special shop. That is not true. Another thing I was told, which was not true. So the flat I moved into was a new build. I was so lucky that I got a 2-bedroom flat and it was beautiful. The problem was because it was a new build, the floor when I moved in, it wasn't even concrete. It was almost, I can only describe it as like mud. Like cement that hasn't quite dried yet. That was the flooring. And I was told that because I had someone who lived below me, I would have to buy carpet. Now, I didn't know this and I don't know if it's different per borough, but I found out that my borough, the housing association that I lived in, could have provided me that carpet. Nobody told me that. I didn't know that if I reached out to them and said, oh, well, I'm struggling for money. Instead, I had to spend money out of the £2,000 grant on carpet. The carpet, without underlay, was £700. I ended up buying hot pink carpet for my daughter's room and my room because it was on sale. Imagine my bedroom had bright pink carpet. It still came to £700 and it didn't need to. Here's the big one that really messed me up. Destroyed me. Back in the day, care leavers up until the age of 21 didn't have to pay council tax. It's now up until the age of 25, which is incredible. All social services told me was, you don't need to pay council tax because you're a care leaver. Social services never told me there was a form I had to fill out. They told me that they had notified the housing association that I was a care leaver and I didn't need to do anything else. Again, I complained about this, don't worry. But pretty much what happened is when I was getting council tax bills, I didn't think I had to pay them. The bill would come with an amount that I owed on it. But because social services said, you're a care leaver, you don't have to pay it, I just thought, well, they send the bill just as like proof of what I would have to pay. Maybe I sound dumb, but please bear in mind I was 17. I had bigger things going on. I had a baby, I was working, I was running my own house, I just left care. A lot was going on. Social services can be very dogmatic. Listen, I got a letter in the post saying that they had gone to court. So the housing association had gone to court without notifying me. And I now owed £4,000. £4,000. I was an apprentice. I was taking home less than £1,000 a month. I had bills, I had rent, I had nursery fees. Bailiffs started to come to my house. I used to have to pretend to my daughter, so she was 3 years old. When the bailiffs would bang on the door, I would pretend to my daughter that it was a game of hide and seek and we had to stay quiet. She has no memory of that, which I'm really glad for, but that was one of the worst times in my life. I tried to say to the housing association, because at this point I was 21 when this all happened, can it just be wiped? Can you just contact social services about it? Because I haven't actually had to pay. Long story short, no, because I never filled out this form. Apparently I was meant to fill it out every year, but I was not aware of this. I now owed all the money. So as a care leaver that was entitled to free council tax until I was 21, I never got free council tax. All because this form wasn't filled. In the end, I did pay off the debt. I'd kept my head buried in the sand. I was really afraid that I couldn't pay it. So yeah, I would avoid the bailiffs. I didn't contact them. In the end, I contacted them. We had to set up a monthly plan, and I mean, it's been paid off for a long time now. When I sued social services, I'm going to make a whole video about it, but when I sued social services, they gave me £2,500. For everything I've ever spoken about and things that I haven't yet spoken about, I got £2,500 because I settled outside of court. £2,000 of that went on paying off that council tax bill. That money that I got from social services went towards trying to fix the problem that they caused. So yeah, please, please, please make sure your council tax is getting paid. Another thing I didn't know until about after 9 months of living alone is there are a lot of furniture charity shops out there. And by that, I mean specifically for people on low income or care leavers, where you can contact this charity, go down to a warehouse, view the furniture, and you get it for free. Well, you don't get it for free. They ask you to make a donation, but that donation can be whatever you want. And yeah, I didn't know about that for ages, but I managed to get a wardrobe because I didn't have a wardrobe. The first 9 months of living there, I didn't have a wardrobe. The first 9 months of living there, I didn't have sofas because I couldn't afford anything. Up until I got a sofa, I'd been using camping chairs that I'd found at a skip. I can be creative when I want to. There are also a lot of furniture grants out there. Unfortunately, I didn't find out about them until 2 years ago, so I was past the age of 25. And I do think they only help under 25-year-olds. I might be wrong, but they're great. There are lots of furniture grants out there where you just say what you need, how much you think you might need, and then I believe they give it to your social worker to get the stuff with you. They don't just give you the cash outright. They make sure you're actually going to spend it on what you said you have, but it's brilliant. Another thing to do, ask your local authority, ask your social worker, ask your PA what exactly you're entitled to. I mentioned in one of my videos I was entitled to a free gym membership. Someone pointed out that actually not all boroughs do that. Different boroughs do different things. When I was in care, I got a free laptop. Ask your PA everything that you're entitled to, and if you don't trust what they're saying, ask citizens advice. Ask somebody everything you're entitled to and take it all. Get an advocate, and if you can, get an independent one. I'm not saying advocates who work for the local authority are bad at their jobs or bad people. I'm not saying that, but what was brilliant about me having an independent advocate who didn't work for the council was I always felt like they were on my side because they didn't have their colleagues around them. If a social worker made a mistake, my advocate had no problem telling them they'd made a mistake. Whereas I think it's slightly different if you have an advocate and a social worker who work together. They don't usually like to go against each other. You could literally just type in advocate for care leavers into Google and loads will come up. My advocate was brilliant, and if he'd been around while I was a care leaver, he would have, all the problems I've mentioned wouldn't have happened. It was only because he left and got a new job and then I wasn't assigned a new advocate and I never took the incentive to get a new one. You're entitled to educational support in school, college, university, an apprenticeship. You're entitled to that. Social services have a educational officer. I don't know if that's the official title, I can't remember, but they do have one. Social services also provide bursaries for you if you're still in education. You're also entitled to universal credit. There's also a lot of internships at the moment, particularly in the civil service sector, that are actively trying to take on care leavers. And I know it's going to be hard, but trust me, when I left care, I had no qualifications, none, no work experience and a criminal record. And I managed to get a job. I did, like I said, I did an apprenticeship and I'm doing quite well for myself now. And trust me, there is going to be many times where you feel like you're having to work 10 times harder just to get what seems people are getting easily. What people seem to get handed to them or just come to them so easily, it's going to feel like you work 10 times harder. But the brilliant thing about that is you will work 10 times harder. You will. Because the fact you've made it through care, you can make it through anything. The fact you can fight through a system, you can fight for anything. And what happens is, and what happened with me, is I was constantly working 10 times harder to catch up. But once I did catch up, you don't stop. You don't catch up to your peers and think, oh, well, I caught up, I can just relax now. It's so ingrained in you now how hard to work that you continue doing it. And then you get above. Anyway, that's my motivational mini speech of the day. Please make sure you have all those things. And like I said, if you don't trust what your social worker's saying, speak to citizens' advice, speak to a third party. Don't let them tell you anything as fact. If you have even the slightest doubt that what they're saying isn't correct, seek other advice. Because I had so many of those doubts, but I just believed, well, social services are the professionals, so they know. Social services wouldn't make a mistake like that. Social services will, of course, give me the right information. I mean, you'd think my experience in care I would have learned, but I didn't. But I've learned now. I hope this has really helped somebody. I might make another part one day if I can think of more things, but those are the ones that have come to the top of my head.